inside the studio. So while we're in the studio, this is my draft table. This is where the magic happens, where I get all the stuff done. And as you can see there, I have one of my webcams set up. It's hanging right now because it's not in operation, but that's where it goes. And right above, that's where I'll have the script for if I'm illustrating for one of my comic books. There's another on my toilet, which is right there. You can see on the draft table, that's what I was known for in the independent circuit several years ago. And that bad boy right there is just a placeholder for my iPad Pro, and I usually put it there if I want to look up any references or get some inspiration from art. And there's just some collectibles that I have. As you can see, I'm a Star Wars fan, I'm a Spawn fan, I'm a He-Man fan, I got them all. And there's some art books and some reference stuff, and then there's some convention supplies there. In my drawer, I have everything from scissors to erasers to pencils. I have all my art supplies there. Then there, again, there's my Cintiq, my Wacom Cintiq, and also some amazing art books that I use on anatomy. I also have reference book, like I'm a big fan of the Mice Templar. And again, here's another one of that made in my toilet. I have He-Man and Thundercats. I have Batman and the Ninja Turtles. Solo by Oscar Martin. This guy's a really fantastic artist. And if you don't have this in your collection, you don't have anything. Usagi Yojimbo, pretty awesome. I got everything also from DreamWorks Troll Hunters. And that's just to name a few, but I'm a big believer in having a lot of inspirational art around. I do a lot of my character designs, and I flesh out ideas on traditional pen and paper. As you can see here, I was just coming up with some looks and designs for Forbidden, which is a book that's currently in production, which will be out in 2020. And then I take to my Cintiq and I'll go on and I'll illustrate in Photoshop. So where do I get my inspiration from? So I have several books. I have art books. I have The Art of Blizzard Entertainment, which is fantastic. The Art of Star Wars. Jim Henson's Creature Shop. The Art of He-Man. The Art of Ninja Turtles. The Dark Crystal. Assassin's Creed. I have, and then books that I read as well. I think I find inspiration for everything. This is some of the things books that I have and I've collected that I use as reference. Now let's take a look around the studio. With regards to what I use to illustrate and to color, I use tactical pencils with refillable leads, and this is my cat just taking over the show. And I also use traditional lead pencils, and I can change the lead on this, and it's very convenient. With inking, I use Pigmas, and I like the Pigma brush because it feels like a paintbrush without the mess with the dipping of the ink and all that stuff. I'm just not skilled at that, so I don't use it. And I also use Faber-Castell ink pens. He's acting up. He's acting up. Can I have that back, please? And you know, we're on TV. You're just so rude. And I use all different types of tips. Again, here's a brush tip. I use a fine-tune, fine tips. I have some thicker tips when you want to get like that really thick line in there. I use a lot of Sharpies when there's a lot of black ink areas that I just need to fill in. But I also have them color Sharpies. What's great for sketch cards on the road, I have this pack, and it's all different types of grays, different tones of grays. Really great with sketch cards. And I have this pack of flesh tone markers, which all different shades of flesh tones. Really good also when you're on the road and you're doing commission stuff. Then I have these spray paint type markers. They're paint markers. and you gotta shake it up just like a spray paint can. I like this because when I want to get that rich color, this really does the trick, especially when I'm at my conventions. So I have different types of markers. From the here we have, this is a brush tip, and we also have a fine tip. So it all depends on what your preference is. This here I purchased at a Home Goods, and it's really just a candle holder that I use just to hold my stuff here. But that's a quick insight of what I use traditionally when I'm coloring. But mostly I use this when I'm at conventions. I don't use them really when I'm at home. I usually go onto the computer with my Cintiq. Tune in next time when I discuss how I pack for a convention and how do I minimize to maximize, right? So these are some of the collectibles that I've collected throughout the years. I have everything from He-Man right there. I have Star Wars, the Millennium Falcon. I have G.I. Joe. There's a sculpt that I did of Cosmic Gorf. There's some Spawn figures and some Smurfs, and there's nearly my toilet. That was done by a fantastic sculptor. My Spawn figures on top. Buzz Lightyear, Shrek, more G.I. Joe, more Star Wars, and of course there's Alf, and you can't forget E.T. I love E.T. And there's some of my artwork behind there. You can't see much of it, but then on the wall some of the covers for some of my books that I've produced throughout the years. So right here is my catalog of work that I've created throughout the years, and again, this is Mandie Pandie and the Curfews, a children's book that I wrote, and Hector Rodriguez illustrated, a fantastic artist. This was the Adventures of Cosmic Gorf, and I wrote, and Emperor was the artist, Masiek Emperor, artist who actually illustrated the interiors. And then this was Doodie's Adventures, Volume 2. The Diabolical Egomaniac Overlord Nemesis Poo-Poo. And this was the complete guide to Doodie and Friends, which is everything from the characters to the history, everything you want to know about There's Needle in My Toilet. It's in this book. This is Arg. Again, I wrote this and I illustrated this book. It is going to be a novel. So I'm working on a graphic novel with this book. I decided just to write it out. This is Scary Airy. Again, I wrote this book, and Big Cat Studios did the interior work, which is fantastic. What else do we have here? This is Doodie's Adventures Volume 1. And then these here are the different issues of There's an Alien in My Toilet comic book. So that's issue 2, I See Red People. Gotcha, number 4. Aichiwawa, number 3. Number 1, First Flush. Number 2 somewhere in there. Number 2, no, the Aichiwawa is number 3 still there. This is Hi, I'm Doodie from Uranus. It's my Christmas special where Doodie decides to go after Santa Claus. Here's my sketchbook, which is all my work, behind the scenes stuff. Everything I did back then was in color, which is pretty cool. This was the Adventures of Cosmic Wars. Actually, this is just Cosmic Wars. I did all the work on this. I wrote it, illustrated, colored. This is a preview edition of Cosmic Wars, and then this is the larger version of Scary Airy. And then Nanny Tales. This is just a collected edition of all my stories, all my children's books. And then this is stuff that I just, I like, you know, books that I read and stuff like that. So that's the catalog. So this is Forbidden, originally produced many years ago, illustrated by Anibal Arroyo. And currently, and these are several issues that we did There's 4 bullets from Silver Bullets Critics. Currently, I revamped Forbidden, and it's being illustrated by a fantastic artist that I'm working with overseas, and lettered by George Medina, and written by me. Look for that in 2020. So back when I was producing comic books and I was heavily active in the comic scene, I was doing about 12 to 18 shows a year. I attended the San Diego Comic-Con, and this was one of the advertisements that was in the promotional guidebook. This was July 23rd through 26th in 2009, which was, I believe, my last appearance at Comic-Con, and I was there promoting Designated on My Toilet. That was a great time. Around that same time, I think this was 2007, I had an ad in Wizard magazine. And I was a big collector of Wizard. In fact, I still have all my Wizard stuff, and this ad was promoting the fact that we were at San Diego Comic-Con, and we were also at the Licensing Expo, and that was a great time during that period. And this is Royalties magazine. We were also in this magazine, if I can find that page. There it is, full page in at the Licensing Expo. It was a good year, got a lot of attention from Hollywood. Potential deals fell through, so we got close, just didn't get the cigar. And this is what we would normally give out to the media. It was our press kit, and it would promote all the products. So this is promoting the issues of Catch Da Craze, actually Catch Da Craze, Designated on My Toilet, all written and created by me. The Christmas edition, which is Hi, I'm Doodie from Uranus. And then there's Doodie's Adventures, which was the children's book spin-off to Doodie. Trading cards. I had some guest appearances, some really fabulous artists who worked on some of the trading cards. Then we had the Adventures of Cosmic Gorf, story written by me, illustrated by Empro, which was the artist that I hired to illustrate the book. One thing that was in production was Herman, which is a spin-off from There's an Alien in My Toilet, and the book was Coming to America. And if you know anything about the book, Herman always thought that Doodie was a talking jalapeno. Then there's Scary Airy, which I wrote as well, and I hired an artist to illustrate. And then there was the Oogoolie Boogoolies, which I wrote, and David Keeles illustrated for me. Then the Mandie Pandie and the Curfew, which I wrote and created and illustrated by Hector Rodriguez, a fantastic artist. And then Cosmic Wars, which I did all the work on. Writing, illustrating is a combination of 3D and traditional art all together. And this is a lot of the promo stuff. You know, during the height of my career, I was featured on a lot of different shows, from American Latino TV to CNET to Fox to NBC. A lot of articles written up on the product. And then this was the Brisky family. They ordered, I forgot how many copies for a birthday party, and they gave a copy to all the kids who attended the birthday party. And these are just pictures of fans throughout the time when I was in the comic book industry, and I took a break and now getting back in again. This was an article that was written about me in a local paper, and I was pretty excited. They actually came to my home studio, and it was a great time. What got me into comics? I was a kid, and I was always fascinated by like Hanna-Barbera and Looney Tunes, and I've always wanted to draw. And I used to draw what I saw on TV until I was challenged, and someone said to me, "You'll never be an artist, a true artist, until you start creating from your mind." So I trained myself to create from my mind, and I had the bug ever since. My first book published was Cosmic Wars. Independently published. That was my first time, and my first convention was the Big Apple Comic Con in New York. And Michael Carbonero, who is the founder and owner of Big Apple, gave us a break. We were a bunch of wet behind the ears artists, and I did this promo piece and showed it to him of his show, and from that I became a permanent resident at the Big Apple for many years. Always had a place there, and then I supported Mike with a lot of marketing behind the scenes stuff. So I credit Michael Carbonero to that exciting time in the independent publishing era, because I had fun during that time. The hardest thing about producing comic books independently is time and money. That's those that I can't say anything any different. It's time and money. If you're investing your own money, you got to make sure that you take care of family and not to break the bank. And then time, because if you're most independents, we have a full-time job, and so where do you find that balance, and how do you make sure that you're making the time to meet your deadlines, which it takes us longer. I know it would take me a few months to produce something that it would take somebody a few weeks. Advice that I would give to aspiring creators: follow your dream. You know, if you believe that you're going to do something great, then do it. If you believe that something is worth doing, then go for it. Just weigh all your options and don't look back. Don't make any no regrets. No regrets. Commit 100%, or don't commit at all. You know, go all in. You know, nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up. Who do I admire, and who are some of my where do I get my inspiration from? Stan Lee, none other. Todd McFarlane. Stephen Platt, who's not doing comics anymore, but he was the fantastic artist behind some of the issues of Moon Knight. He did Prophet, he did Fighting American. His style of art is just fantastic. Michael Turner, oh my God, his women were just beyond. Jim Lee, his Batman is incredible. Oscar Martin, his stuff is just crazy. There's just so many out there that I think I enjoy. Charles Schultz, you know, the Peanuts, Jim Henson, George Lucas. These creative minds, they're all inspiration to me. Steve Jobs, Bill Gates. I mean, I get my creative mojo from all walks of life, and people who just break the mold and defy the odds. Sylvester Stallone. I mean, come on. What do you want from me, Adrian? I just think there's so much out there. Thank you. So I hope you enjoyed this time in our studio, Catch Da Craze Podcast, and I hope I was able to answer any questions about the equipment that we use. And thank you for spending time with me and going down memory lane with some of the things that I produce as an illustrator and comic book producer. I've been in the game for a while. I don't have all the answers, but I can answer any questions that you may have. So if there's anything else you would like to see on the show, let me know. Please subscribe on our YouTube channel, which is at Catch Da Craze 1, or follow us on Twitter at Crazy Comics, or on Instagram. We are on Facebook, and listen to us on iHeartRadio, Spotify. But look for some illustrations to come, some work that I'm doing for Disney with my toilet, and more promos for Forbidden, which will be released in spring 2020. Again, I'm Samuel. Thank you for joining us on this segment of Inside the Studio of Catch Da Craze Podcast and behind the scenes of my work as an artist and illustrator. I appreciate you. I thank you. And I look forward to hearing from you. So, Catch Da Craze.